I'm so excited to be moderating this conversation between Stephen Molasky and David Rand, two trailblazers who have joined together to offer dynamic and electric programming that will be truly transformative. And it's being done in one of the greatest cities in the world, Las Vegas. First, let me begin by introducing myself. My name is Penelope Nikowitz. I am a psychologist, a facilitator, a consultant, and an educator, and a life explorer. I am especially passionate about this marriage between the Art of Wisdom and the Railroad Arts District Development Project, and Stephen and David's individual and joint vision that seems so relevant to the challenges of these times. Stephen and David have asked me to moderate their conversation because I've been collaborating closely with David as he has been growing the Art of Wisdom. This is a story of the coming together of two people, seemingly different in their life stories, but both connected through a decades-long friendship, and in entrepreneurship, but most importantly, through shared values and a vision that art and wisdom are flip sides of the same coin. I will let them tell you about their dynamic and vibrant vision that will contribute to the conversations taking place everywhere we look. How can we cultivate and explore beauty, empathy, wisdom, creativity in daily life? And also, this is the story about the Arts District of Las Vegas, which, if you don't know, is exploding with art, young artists, and dynamic visions that is making this district a must-visit stop to this world-famous city. Stephen is creating the Railroad Arts District right next door. David is creating programming and events that run contrary to people's expectations of Las Vegas. I know you will be as excited as I am about this unique partnership. So let me introduce our two amazing trailblazers who you will be meeting today. Stephen Molasky and David Rand are two exceptional and seasoned entrepreneurs with success across the worlds of business, health, art, and wellness. They draw from decades of experience and success to offer innovative and groundbreaking programs to deal with the challenges and the seismic shifts we are facing currently. They recognize, as they have dealt with their own challenges, that their vulnerability and empathy has been crucial. And it is from this place that they have designed their current offerings of art connecting to wisdom, offering people an opportunity to express the inexpressible. Their vision is both unique and groundbreaking. Stephen, a successful entrepreneur, artist and collector, developer, philanthropist, and tastemaker, hails from the Molasky family. His mentor, his father, Erwin Molasky, the patriarch, pioneered the creation of hospitals, residential, commercial, and governmental building projects in Las Vegas and throughout North America. David, a meditation teacher and entrepreneur, has led think tanks, pioneered businesses, and has been a trainer to people and organizations. The two are a formidable and impressive team. We're going to hear from them now. So let's start. I would really love, Stephen and David, for the two of you, you go back, way back, like 40 plus years. Could you please talk a little bit? I mean, we're going to sort of do a developmental foray into how the two of you met, how you were drawn together. And then I'll ask you more after that about how you came back together to do this project. But can you talk a little bit about how you met and what drew you to each other?
Yeah, Stephen and I shared a love of music and being part of a what we thought was a revolution was going to change the world, and I suppose in some ways it has. But back in the day, we were coming out of a civil rights movement and assassinations, and both of us trying to find our way. And because of our social connections, we ended up meeting each other. And yeah, and that sparked a relationship that we've been able to keep for, as you mentioned, longer than probably I wanted to admit in public that it's that old. But yeah, we've stayed in touch with each other over the decades. And so maybe that's, I don't know, that fills in some blanks for you, Penelope, about what you asked, but that's, yeah, I mean, that's the beginning, kind of out of that tumult of the late 60s, early 70s. That's how Stephen and I came together.
I might add that obviously we met in our college days, that I followed David's career and friendship throughout the years. And as we both had our careers, our families, our interests, we always seemed to stay involved with each other. And I was always fascinated, being a creative person in the business world, with how David managed to navigate his eventual world of basically helping people. I thought it was more than a noble lifetime that he spent, and it always attracted me, wanting to do something with him. And so here we are 50 years later, not embarrassed to say it. And, you know, loving every minute of what we're trying to create, and spending these past years together creating the Art of Wisdom. And Penelope, I'd love to, as you direct us or ask us, get into what is the Art of Wisdom and what we're hoping to.
So thank you, Stephen, and thank you, David. So what I'd like is, I can feel the excitement and I love it. Can we talk a little bit about, I mean, it's interesting. So this, how each of you talked about how you met, but can you talk about how you two worlds have intersected and come together? And because that really leads up to your asking David, Stephen, to come and do this project together with you.
Yeah, well, maybe the way to answer that is to talk about how I grew to deeply appreciate how Stephen found a way to, as you mentioned in your introduction, you know, the Mulaski name in Las Vegas is iconic, and you know, Stephen's family and his father in particular, and the company had a lot to do with the creation of some really iconic properties in the 50s and 60s in Las Vegas. And as you mentioned, has expanded, you know, and created projects across North America. And all this time, when I was getting to know Stephen in the 70s and then in the 80s, I would always, whenever we got back together again, because he was living in Las Vegas and I was living in, at the time, different places. I was living in Sonoma County, California, Marin County, then in New York, and just different places. And every time we'd get back together, we would check in with each other. You know, Stephen has developed another 200-unit apartment complex, or he is involved in a multi-million-dollar project, commercial project in the northwestern part of the country, or just these huge projects. And then one time, out of the clear blue sky, I got an invitation from him to come to New York City to go to a gallery that he had sponsored the artist, who is very well known now. And the art was just, it was mind-blowing. And I realized that he had a depth of you know, knowledge and interest in creativity that I didn't really know about. But when I learned about this at this art gallery, this opening in New York City that Stephen was instrumental in helping put on for this new artist, I was just, fascinated. And so beyond the friendship, I began to learn more of how he was able to, work in a field like development, which is just so difficult. But at the same time, again, moving forward in time, I began to, when I visited Las Vegas, he would show me the art he was doing, his own pieces of art. He would show me paintings that he was working on, or pieces of sculpture, or creative projects he was involved in. And, I was just fascinated by how he was able to do all this, actually, just time management wise, but also then how the art really spoke to me, because he was making statements in his art about the social conditions, about his own place in the world. And it attracted me, and it was very, very compelling. So I think that's probably a long answer to your question, Penelope, but
No,
it helps
yeah.
to maybe put in context how I came to deeply, much more so than just a kind of a friendship, but really became to appreciate a person who was able to bring together all these different threads in such a way. And yeah, so, fast forward over the years, and we stayed in touch, and here we are doing this new project.
I'm sort of blushing.
I know, that's beautiful. So Stephen, maybe you can speak to that also, because clearly it's like the two of you have had a love affair over these years.
Well, thank you, David. Those were very, very kind words. And I found a similar yet converse trait in David. And David was a very successful entrepreneur early on in his life. And in the direction that he went in helping people, he also accomplished a great deal, not just helping people, but in establishing a career and in understanding that the fusion of wellness, if you will, and commerce, it doesn't happen in a void. And so that always impressed me about David. And throughout the years, we've always talked about doing something. And lo and behold, a few years back, I got involved in buying up all these old warehouses downtown Las Vegas. I have a very strong desire to give back to the community and create something in the Railroad Arts District here, with art being the driving force, but having the art of wisdom that David and I have created being an integral part of our whole programming and physicality of what we're trying to accomplish here.
Beautiful, beautiful.
Penelope, I just want to also point out, Stephen is sitting in one of his warehouse spaces,
Right.
called the 920 event space, I think it is. But it's again, it's just to say that this development project that Stephen can speak to much better than I, but it's it's going to, I think, I'm not a native of Las Vegas like Stephen is, but it's going to change the face of this arts district that you mentioned in your opening.
Clearly. So that brings us really into the present. And I would love it if the two of you could talk a little bit about how you see art and wisdom intersecting, especially in terms of modern life, in terms of the challenges, in terms of and we're going to save some time to talk about the future, what you plan to do in the future programming, but I'd love you to just address how you see this marriage of art and wisdom, and the intersection.
David, let me just take a very quick start and then really hand this over to you. But I am all about the artist, helping the artist communicate with the community, helping the artist in an economic way so that it's a real career for artists. And part of what I want to accomplish is for people to not be intimidated, to embrace, to be part and parcel of what we're trying to create. And that is really the programming and putting into words and feeling something that is very difficult to do that, and that's art, which I've always come to it from a feeling perspective, albeit I also, understand and, really like cerebral art as well as just all feeling. But I'd like to turn this over to David to talk about the art of wisdom and the marriage of wisdom and art and what we're trying to accomplish here.
Beautiful. Thank you.
Well, I mean, sages and philosophers and very, very wise people over the centuries have spoken about the importance of art in our lives. So I'm not going to try and outdo them. But what I will say is that I think for any one of us who have been touched by an act of creation of whatever that might mean to each of us, whether it's the grandest picture or canvas you can imagine, or to a simple act of beauty. And it could be a gesture, it could be a glance, it could be, something very, very, transient. Yet there's an act of beauty in that. And I think it's in those moments of beauty that this kind of transmission of the inexpressible takes place. And in this inexpressibility, this place without words, that art can point us or can actually reveal to us, in my experience, these deeper values, things that make the challenges that we all face, whether it's aging or whether it's illness or whether it's the difficulties of sometimes just being a human being. The art can help us transform those things, or help us come to grips with those things, or understand them in different ways. And so, for me, the art of wisdom and this railroad art district that Stephen is creating is kind of a marriage between two. Yes, it's in one sense, it's about Stephen's and my relationship for sure, but it's also about, we are creating this a different way, or maybe our take on how commerce and art can come together and actually end up still conveying beauty, still conveying these kinds of qualities. So maybe these values would include things like empathy, like sustainability, like leadership, and what do these things mean? I mean, there's obviously tens and hundreds of people out there doing good work like this. But I think that one of the things that we're hoping to create, especially from Las Vegas, is something around the Stevens, as he says, wishes to support young artists, creatives, and then how can we then bring wisdom, as each of us understand that, into a marriage that gives life to programming, both virtual and in person, that will be compelling for people who come to the city to see, or maybe even do it online.
So exciting. And I love the way both of you have articulated this beautiful vision. It's really such a wonderful and unique offering. I really think so. Because this is a little bit, I mean, you're bringing in some of the thought leader traditions, but you're also marrying it to art. And so it's a beautiful marriage. So I'd love to invite you both to give our audience a little bit of an idea of what you have in mind, what you're thinking in terms of future planning, and also, so people can also feel the excitement and begin to generate some, thought about how they may be impacted by this wonderful offering. So could you please talk a little bit about your plans for the future and how you hope to bring this both virtually and to this wonderful city of Las Vegas.
Well, thank you for all your kind words and your excitement and passion for what we're all trying to do here. And I will say that within the next year, we will have opened probably 5 or 6 of the art spaces, possibly more. The art spaces will be inside from 2,000 square foot buildings to 20,000 square foot buildings. And there will be lots of outdoor art on sidewalks, on buildings, on property, along with the different art offerings. There will be programming where influential artists from outside of Las Vegas will come in, be here for a while, interact with the local artists and the communities. And throughout all of these, and by the way, some of these aren't just visual arts, there will be dance and theater and other spaces. Throughout all of these offerings, that is where the Art of Wisdom will interact with each and every one of them and our group of people. So David, maybe you can be a little more articulate about how that is going to happen.
Yeah, Stephen, I think you put it, as you always do so well. I think, again, if we're bringing, creatives, to use that word, or emerging artists into spaces that Stephen's creating in these buildings. And just to say about this, the location of this, it's quite an exciting area of town, because 10 years ago, no one wanted to be there. But now Stephen 5 years ago saw the potential for this area. And sure enough, if you come to Las Vegas, you must visit the art district. And as Stephen says, in next year, visit these art spaces. But I think the Art of Wisdom will be bringing creatives in to talk and to, I think, not just talk, but actually create experiential, immersive experiences, I think is the term use these days. Immersive experiences for people to really connect with their own artist, their own inner artist. We all have it. I think, for those of us who never considered ourselves artists, being reminded that in fact we can create, but giving people a platform to do that is going to be one of the main goals we're going to do. So yeah, we want to keep it local. We want to draw organically from the art community in Las Vegas, but I think that the idea is that we will be scaling this to include representatives from a global perspective who have something to say, who are bringing this idea of the inexpressibility of beauty to real life. So how that all happens is going to be both in person and virtually, and probably some high-end experiences for curated experiences for smaller groups of people. But yeah, we're looking forward to doing this, and we'll be really inviting feedback from the community and from artists and the collection of artists that we have to draw from, and their expertise and experience. They'll be an integral part of how this all happens.
There is a need for people, especially post-COVID, to connect. And there are many platforms out there that you probably both are probably more aware of than I am. I'm aware of some of them, where online and in person. And we want to be more than just one of those offerings. We really think it's long history of putting on empathy and compassion and all of these gatherings. We think that with Las Vegas as a backdrop, Sin City, if you will, mixed in fun and real seriousness, that we really have a chance to really have a very strong impact.
It's beautiful. I'm just loving this vision, and I love the possibilities for I mean, my mind starts going to global summits and, just, and that bringing in people. I'm sort of taking this around, and I love the idea of starting it in Las Vegas, but it has huge potential to make such an impact in our society and for people today. So maybe you can give our audience a little teaser about just, that if they sign up to be on our mailing list, that you will, that way they get access to, they get VIP access to early notification of events, and maybe discounts, and maybe, some little perks that, are still in the works, but maybe you can give a little teaser, both of you.
Well, yes, Stephen, if you don't mind, I'll take a stab at this one, because Stephen's already got so many shows and events already going on in his spaces. But I would say that for the Art of Wisdom, we're going to be shamelessly plugging our website right now and suggesting you go to artofwisdom.com and sign up. And you will be notified of curated events, of chances to have networking opportunities, dinners with people that I think you'll be really happy to sit down and have a cup of coffee or a beer or a glass of wine with. They're going to be really, people that be known and unknown, but we have in mind that the kind of people we think most people who'd be interested in this, what we're doing right now, what we're talking about, would be very, very interested in participating in. So please go to artofwisdom.com. And I think the other thing to do is, we are thinking of global summits. We are thinking about bringing, obviously Las Vegas doesn't need an introduction from me, but certainly anybody who, kind of has the ear to the ground knows that the world's most famous, artistic acts, musically, theater-wise, reviews, they're in Las Vegas, and they do residencies here. And, there's a reason why 46 million people a year come to Las Vegas. So, again, I think the important thing now is just to stay in touch, sign up, get notified, and we'll certainly let you know. Our idea is by the end of this year, by the end of 2022, we're going to do something in person in the Arts District of Las Vegas. Stay tuned.
Yeah. So folks, you're hearing this, go to artofwisdom.com, sign up. I hope that, thank you, both of you, for really expressing so much about what brought you together, what your values are, what your visions are. And I think this is very exciting and very, very vital and vibrant.